Hi everybody, my name is Raleigh and I am a content creator. I am a teacher by profession and I live in Jamaica. Today I share a little bit about my experience in fish keeping. Stay tuned. Okay, so food fish farming is not my forte. My forte is ornamental fish farming to start with. However, I entered into the food fish farming, area of fish keeping, breeding, and trading by really funny means. I think you should actually watch my channel, Fish Keeping Jamaica, and you will actually see how that one got started, right? But because I do not have much time in actually sharing what I do know about food fish farming in Jamaica, I just get straight to it. First and foremost, I would like to actually apologize for not being able to be on live, in which I can actually have a conversation with Dr. Russell and probably those persons who might be within that space at this moment, right? With my schedule at work, being a great supervisor, having several responsibilities, it's really difficult for me, and it's face to face now, so it's a little bit difficult actually um, being online sometimes. So the time schedule kind of clash. Okay, so let's get straight into food fish farming in Jamaica. Food fish farming, the appetite for food fish farming in Jamaica have actually grown, and this growth have been propelled by the advent of the COVID-19. A lot of persons are now at home. Some persons have actually been at home as a result of losing their work. Some persons can't get any work. They leave school and they just can't get any work because businesses are just going slow. All right, so the persons are actually searching for something economic to do so as to generate funds and something that they like. So they are actually heading into food fish farming, food fish cultivation, keeping, breeding, right? Uh, I would do aquaponics, but I'm not too versed on that. To tell you the truth, I'm not really learned on that. So I just stick to breeding and keeping tilapia. Okay, first and foremost, keeping tilapia. Remember that tilapia is a fish species that can go up to 14, yeah, 14 to 15 inches in length. So you're gonna have to have a lot of space. Now, you might have some totes like I have the totes, right? Or you might have concrete ponds, or you might have some dugout ponds or some plastic tote that you purchase from Rhino tanks, right? uh this can work, but this well that's a tote and the concrete pond and the rhino tanks. Those can work. However, the volume of fish that you will actually be able to keep in that space will be small in comparison to, let's say, if you have a pond that is made out of clay, that is like probably about 20 to 30 feet in length and width, probably about four and a half feet in depth. You get more out of that, right? And it actually saves you in a long run, in which I will share with you. So the first thing you need space, right? You need adequate space to allow for breeding, for transitioning of the fish from one space to the next. You're gonna have to create that space. So when you're going into food fish cultivation, you can't just have one space. You can't just have one large pond and put everything in it. It's not gonna work that way. You're not gonna make any money, because you now are gonna have to sit and wait until that stock actually grows out before you actually get stock to continue, right? So you want to be able to breed your stock. At the same time, you want to be able to grow out your stock. So you time yourself. Like, for example, you might say every 2 weeks I will harvest some fish. So it will take some time for you to reach that level, right? It might take 6 months before you actually reach that level, or probably 2 or 3 years, because you have several systems in place, right? The next hard thing to do is to actually the next hard thing to do is to actually get a stock of fingerlings that are able to breed. Now, there are government agencies such as RADA and other spaces that you can actually get fingerlings. It's cool, it's easy, and it's cheap. And the reason why it's cheap is because these species that you're actually getting from these spaces, they are monosex. They have been fed with testosterone so as to ensure that they all sex reverse into male, and the growth is actually propelled. So within 5.5 to 6 months, you can actually have some 7-inch, 8-inch tilapia to actually put on the market, right? If you do have females within that stock, what will happen is that the female tilapia will go very slow, and because it is not as strong as the male tilapia, which is very huge and powerful, right? What you find is that the amount of feed that the female will actually get would be small, and it will be light in weight in comparison to the male. So that's one of the reasons why, if you're going to actually go the route of mixed tilapia stock cultivation, put all the females in one area, all the males in one area, and then you actually get your brood stock, male and a female, in a different area in which you use those just to breed, right? Now, getting the tilapia that actually breed might be a problem, and they might just be a little bit more expensive than the ones that you will get at RADA or any other spaces. How I got mine from a nearby stream that actually cuts across a drain that comes from a farm, and the overflow from that farm actually releases the water, and in that water you have some fish that were just not caught by the workmen, or should I say, individual working on the farm. So therefore those fish actually come over into the stream, and I was able to get them. So those fish were able to actually breed. I got 5, and I end up into 6,000 and 12,000, and it went just crazy from that. All right, so I'm trying to summarize everything into one capsule, right? But I have done a total breakdown into the different topics, different areas that you might be interested in with regard to tilapia fish farming in Jamaica. Now, as I said before, I am not a fish farmer, a food fish farmer that goes out there and sell. I just do things for myself, my family, right? It's not for sale out on the market, so I'm not competing with anybody. All right, so the next thing you want to know feed, right? The best feed. Now, there are a lot of debates as to whether or not you can use chicken feed versus tilapia fish feed. As a novice, I would advise that you use the tilapia fish feed, and that you use it sparingly. You spend time to feed your tilapia fish. Don't just throw the feed into the container or the space, because what will happen is that the feed that have not been taken up by the tilapia will actually fall to the bottom, and it will actually cause problem in the future, in that the water will become polluted. In addition to that, although this is not really suggested by some farmers, right? They just bypass that, because they would actually harvest, and then they would clean and everything. But you're a small tilapia fish farmer, I would get a bottom feeder at the base of my pond, and my suggested bottom feeder would be a pleco. The reason being is that if you get any smaller bottom feeder like snails, or let's say curry catfish, or any of those nice bottom feeders that you would have in your aquarium, the tilapia cichlid mouth cuts across about between 1 inch to between half inch to an inch, right? It will readily consume small bottom feeder, so you have to get one that is strong and able to manage the aggression of the tilapia, right? Also, you'll need filtration, because you are not you don't have such a wide space like those on the large tilapia fish farm. You won't be able to experience the luxury of getting a 1 acre 2 acre um, clay pond that has, let's say, some paddle wheels, and I speak about that in one of my videos on tilapia, in the tilapia series, right? So you need strong filtration system, and also you would also need um, regular scheduled maintenance. That means water change, and also, you know, checks and balances. You want to ensure that you separate the larger fish from the smaller fish. Now, although all the fish actually reverted at the same time, right, were released by the mother at the same female by the same at the same time, you'll find that some fish will actually outgrow some, and that's the reason. That's one of the reasons why you're being cautioned to have more than one container to actually keep your tilapia fish stock. So you have a period of time, probably every 2 weeks, you actually go buy a tub and you check the size. So you put all the larger tilapia one side, all the smaller ones one side, and what you realize is that the smaller one eventually at times will actually grow as large as the larger one. You know, probably next 2 months or probably a couple weeks, you'll be able to put the smaller ones with the larger one. What's happening is that the larger ones are aggressive and greedy, and they will tend to go at the feed more than the smaller ones, or bounce the smaller ones away and you know, actually consume the feed. So therefore the smaller ones are not able to consume, thus the weight is actually small, right? So you continuously do that, so you have different grade, different size of tilapia within your system, right? Also, you need to ensure that you have a breeding stock. You don't want to actually harvest all your fish and then you have to go out and look for a different set of fingerlings to grow, right? That is like nonsense in business. You always have a replenishing stock, so when you actually harvest and you actually trade um, that stock, you can time yourself and say, okay, then the next 4 weeks um, that stock will be ready. So in a sense, you will have probably about 6 different containers with 6 different stock at 6 different sizes. So at least at the end of each month, you'll be able to actually harvest. So therefore, you have some scheduled funding coming in for from your experience, right? Uh, Being that you're doing fish farming, food fish farming in high volumes, right? You will also need water source, whether you're going to have spring or you're going to have a container that you actually catch. For example, for me, I have a 1,000 gallon rhino tank at the top of my house, and that water tank is filled with water, and water normally stay in there for 7 days before I actually use it any at all, whether in my ornamental fish setup or within my my food fish setup, right? So the water would actually stay in there, and I'll be able to change water periodically. Now, if you don't have that water to replenish the water that you need to change from your food fish, what you'll find is that your fish will actually become sick, right? And extreme circumstances, they might actually die, starting with the loss of slime on the coating, and then now they end up with parasitic issues, and you know, you're gonna have to use medication and all that. All right, so let's talk about the feed. I was suggesting to you a while ago that you use tilapia fish feed, and the reason for that is that tilapia fish feed is built for tilapia. Chicken fish feed can be used, but it tends to foul the water, and after a while the water really gets stink. uh, Tilapia fish feed is dense in comparison to ornamental fish feed, so therefore it sinks very quickly. So you're gonna have to spend time feeding your fish, ensuring that fish actually get most of what is being fed. I spoke about filtration already, right? Whilst you might not be able to place plants into the pond with your tilapia cichlid, because the tilapia is going to actually munch on it, it's going to consume it, right? You can have some means of power head or aeration within the system so as to provide oxygen, right? You also need to provide an opportunity where in which the fish feel safe. For me, I cover my fish ponds with zinc during the days, right? Because depending on where you are at, you might have birds that actually stop by to have a snack. So you want to actually provide security so that you don't have 4 dozen fish within a container, and when you come to harvesting, you only see 3. And you're wondering where's the 3 the birds actually got, most of them, right? Timing is also of an essence, right? As a tilapia fish farmer, you have to learn timing, right? So if you have a brood stock out there in a single container, you have to be disciplined. Every morning, very early, you check your pond. Every evening, you check your pond. Every night, before you go to bed, you check your pond. Why you checking your pond? You want to check your pond to ensure that babies that have been released by the parent, by the female, um, is not left there vulnerable for, other pond mates within the brood pond stock actually consuming them. So you're gonna always have a container that has baby fish coming up, right? When I say baby fish coming up, I mean like newly hatched baby fish. And at all times, you're gonna have to keep those baby fish according to their size. If you put, like, for example, 3 weeks old tilapia with a 1 day old tilapia, the 3 weeks old tilapia will consume the 1 day old tilapia. So you're gonna have a lot of space. So over time, what you'll find yourself having several containers like myself in your yard or in your space, in your commercial space, with different grades of fish. And this is a part of the business. And this ensures that you're always supplied with tilapia to actually be in your system. Now, if you are like me who like fruits and vegetables, you can actually design your system in such a way, something like aquaponics, but the water is not really recycled. Wherein you release the water. When you release the water, what will happen is that the water goes into a garden or go amongst your fruit trees. So therefore, you don't have to spend extra monies to pay the water people, right, for water that you're using to water the fruit trees and all of that. Okay, so I timed myself and I said that I was going to do a 20 minutes presentation. So let me continue. As far as totes versus vats is concerned, vats are like probably about 2.5 inches feet off the ground. Totes are like 3.5 to 4 feet off the ground. I personally love the totes because the totes is high, and to me it gives a little bit more security for the fish. The fish can actually dig, swim deep, and it's not vulnerable to, like, the birds would come in to actually consume. They can actually, dig deep, or even thieves come to actually consume, take up the fish. They find it a little bit more problem actually going so deep for the fish. With a 2.5 inch vat, it's like probably about less than an arm length, right? So therefore, persons will actually dip into that container and take out. That's if you're living in a space where it's, theft is an issue. For me, it's not really an issue, but I lost some stuff out here already, not pertaining to food fish, but pertaining to equipment. All right, so in wrapping up, food fish is a very lucrative business in Jamaica. One of the problems with food fish is actually getting the start. The start meaning how you go about doing it. Raleigh Rural Agricultural Development Authority in Jamaica do provide some amount of assistance to individual wishing to do that setup. They give you advice and they actually give you some stock, but the stock that they gives you is not the stock that can reproduce. Those stock have been monosex. So all the time when you grow to stock, you'll always have to be going back to them for more stock. And sometime, like the other day, I went just to check out the system, they have none, because persons have been coming, persons buy like 200,000 fingerlings for their setup. It's really like a competition there getting fingerlings. And now I understand the reason why persons have been, asking me for fingerlings, even if it's a dozen, because they want to get broodstock out of that, right? So you don't have to find a farmer or be good luck like good call it, lucky like myself, to get some amount of tilapia that can breed to create your broodstock. When you create your broodstock, you're not gonna actually consume your broodstock until probably you have another broodstock coming on the way, right? So you're always having babies, and that's the reason why you need to continuously check. um I don't know if I have missed anything, Dr. Russell. There's such a wide space. Talking about tilapia, I probably the next conversing next time I can go in a little bit more detail as to the direction in which I'm at, right? Because right now I'm at probably about 30 something videos on tilapia alone, right? Points to note: in Jamaica we prefer the red Nile tilapia, because the red Nile tilapia resembles the snapper, right? That is the freshwater, marine snapper, marine red snapper. It resembles it, so people kind of like it, right? And the Mozambique tilapia, persons don't really like that one, because it looks black and it reminds them of, like you have river fish, normal river fish, and to some people they don't like river fish, right? The Rocky Mountain white, is not a fish that is really sold on the market as, let's say, regular tilapia. It is mostly used to mix breed, like with the red Nile tilapia, doing like the brood stock, mixing up things. So when you see some red tilapia having some black spots or some white spots, those tilapia in Jamaica, that is, have been actually mixed bred between, all three mixed bred between. There's nothing wrong with it. Oh, before I leave, um you might be wondering, hey, so this monosex thing, this sex reversal thing, isn't that bad for humans? Well, according to science, and we're following the science here, no, it doesn't really, it doesn't affect humans, none at all, right? It just affects the baby tilapia. Remember, when the baby tilapia is born, it has neither male nor female genitalia, right? It takes roughly about 4 days before, in layman terms, it decides whether or not it's a male and a female. So the testosterone is actually fed to the fries during those 4 day period, which actually boosts it to become male. When it's boosted to become male, you see a lot of growth in it for the next 6 months, and then eventually it becomes food fish and it is ready for the market. As I said before, female female tilapia cichlids are not really that favored. As I said before, I am learning myself. I am trying to, experience some good experience in fish keeping. It is hoped that what I've shared with you is valued, and you can check out my channel, Raleigh Fish Keeping Jamaica. Thank you, Dr. Russell, for having me on your channel, Aquaculture in the Caribbean. I appreciate it. One up. Thank you. Bye bye.